thank you for joining us for our Lunch with Mia. I am Nicholas Cooper, a health insurance specialist with the Maryland Insurance Administration's Health Coverage Assistance Team, also known as HCAT. Today, we will discuss how the appeals and grievance process at the Maryland Insurance Administration works. So the topics covered during this Lunch with Mia will include when should a complaint be referred to the MIA, what the consumer needs to do to receive assistance from the MIA, and what a consumer should expect as a part of the complaint process. I would now like to introduce Mr. Lewis S. Butler, Jr., our Director of Appeals and Grievance Unit. Mr. Butler, you can now take it over.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate this a wonderful opportunity to talk about the Appeals and Grievance Unit and the good work that we do. I think it's important for all consumers of insurance to understand that they have rights when it comes to the insurance product that they purchase. So what I want to do this afternoon is just to sort of go over what it is that the Appeals and Grievance Unit does and how we're able to assist individuals. What is the Maryland Insurance Administration? Just for background, so that we are all on the same page. The Maryland Insurance Administration is the state agency that regulates insurance in Maryland. The MIA licenses insurers and insurance products, that is, i.e. agents or brokers, examines the business practices of licensees to ensure compliance, monitors solvency of insurers, reviews, approves insurance policy forms, reviews insurance rates to ensure rates are not inadequate, excessive, or unfairly discriminatory, investigates consumer and provider complaints and allegations of fraud. Background and history. The appeals and grievance process begins when a carrier renders what is characterized as an adverse decision, which includes a determination that a proposed or delivered healthcare service is not medically necessary, appropriate, or efficient. The member, the member's representative, or the treating provider acting on behalf of the member has the right to protest this decision through the carrier's internal review process. When a protest is filed with the carrier regarding an adverse decision, this is a grievance. If the carrier again determines that the proposed or delivered healthcare service is not medically necessary, the member, the member's representative, or the treating provider or physician acting on behalf of the member may ask the Maryland Insurance Administration to review the carrier's grievance decision by filing a complaint. How the law works. The Appeals and Grievance Law gives the administration the authority to contract with 3 independent review organizations, or IROs, to review these medical necessity complaints. When the administration sends a complaint to an IRO for review and the IRO assigns an expert reviewer for the complaint, Maryland law requires that the reviewer be an unbiased provider in the same specialty as the area or areas appropriate to the subject of review. The administration's final decision on the complaint may be based on the opinion of the IRO. If the complainant remains dissatisfied with the administration's decision, he or she may make a written request for a hearing to challenge the administration's decision. Carriers do not have the right to an administrative hearing, but may file a petition for judicial review with the circuit court. Types of complaints the MIA's Life and Health Unit and Appeals and Grievance Unit can review. Generally, the MIA can review complaints involving health benefit plans delivered or issued in Maryland, including claim denial based on medical necessity, denial of all or part of a claim for other reasons, appeals of a carrier's denial or other possible violations of Maryland insurance laws. Denials may include a claim denial. This is where your carrier or HMO has denied payment for a service or medication that was provided. An authorization denial. This is when a medication or treatment requires a referral or prior authorization from your provider, but this authorization has been denied and your insurance carrier or HMO, by your insurance carrier or HMO, pardon me. You are entitled to a written denial unless you or your provider agrees to an alternative care plan. Appeals. If your healthcare provider tells you that a certain service or medication is needed, medically necessary, but your health insurance carrier or HMO denies your claim, that is a denial based on medical necessity, and you have the right to appeal that decision. Generally, you must file a grievance with the carrier first before you can file a complaint with the MIA. In some cases, though, including, for example, when you have a compelling reason, you can file a complaint with the MIA first. In addition, you can file if you were approved for a lower level of care than you asked for, or you believe the in-network or approved provider is too far away, or the wait is too long, or you received an approval for visits fewer visits than your provider thinks you need. Types of complaints the MIA's Life and Health and Appeals and Grievance Unit can't review. The MIA cannot address complaints or inquiries involving insurance contracts which are not regulated by the state of Maryland. Generally, this includes the following: self-funded or self-insured employer plans, medical assistance, Medicaid, except for delayed payments, Medicare or Medicare HMOs, federal employee health benefit plans, uniform services family health plans, and contracts issued and delivered to the policyholder in another state. What the consumer needs to do to receive assistance from the MIA, it's very simple. Complaints can be filed online, mailed in, or faxed. Forms to file a complaint are available on our website, and I want to say that out loud so that people get it, because we are available and we want people to take advantage of our website. Our website is loaded with helpful information, and that website is www.insurance.maryland.gov/consumer/pages/file a complaint.aspx. You can mail or fax your complaint to Maryland Insurance Administration.
Can you please repeat that?
Absolutely.
Slow down.
Absolutely.
When you're
I
because
apologize.
it's extremely long. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And please interject as I'm going along, because I'm giving out a lot of information and I have no problem repeating it, because we really want to make certain that this opportunity is fulfilled for everybody's benefit. So again, that email, that address is www.insurance, and that's spelled all the way out, .Maryland, spelled all the way out, .gov, that's .gov, /consumer /pages, PAGES, pages, /file a complaint .aspx. In the alternative, you can always Google us. Just plug in Maryland Insurance Administration and our information will pop up. Did everyone get that? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
yes.
Absolutely. Mail or fax your complaint to Maryland Insurance Administration. Attention, Consumer Complaint Investigation, Life and Health /Appeals and Grievance, (200) St. Paul Place. That's 200 St. Paul Place, Suite 2700 Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. Our fax number for the life and health section, 410-468-2260. That's 410-468-2260. For the Appeals and Grievance Unit, which I'm the director of, that fax number is 410-468-2270. And I'll repeat, 410-468-2270. We also have an online complaint portal that consumers can take advantage of. And that is H as in Harry, T as in, well, HTTPS enterprise.insurance.maryland.gov, that's GOV, /consumer/consumer portal welcome page dot A as in Albert, S as in Sam, P as in Paul, X as in Xerox. If you have a disability and need to file a complaint by phone, you can call the MIA at 410-468-2244. The patient's signed consent is required for an appeals and grievance complaint. What a consumer should expect as part of the MIA's complaint process. You should receive an acknowledgement letter of the complaint within a few days. The acknowledgement will include the contact information for the MIA's investigator. In other words, it'll contain the MIA file number that has been assigned to that particular complaint, along with the contact information of the investigator to whom the case has been assigned. So we'll have their email, their direct phone number, and any additional information that they may be requesting of you in that letter, in that acknowledgement letter. But the acknowledgement letter is designed to let you know that once you file your complaint with us, that we've received it and we have launched our investigation. Typically, we'll also identify the number of days that the administration has to investigate that particular complaint. You can call the investigator anytime you have questions. It usually takes approximately 3 months to investigate a complaint. That would be on the life and health side. Appeals and grievance complaint investigations are concluded within 45 days unless an extension of an additional 30 days is granted. And normally the additional time would be warranted if we were awaiting, and the investigator was awaiting information that they have not received. So typically that is what extends a complaint investigation on the appeals and grievance side. But generally speaking, we have 45 days from the time that we receive your complaint to have it all wrapped up within that 45-day window. What the numbers show. In 2021, the Maryland Insurance Administration's Appeals and Grievance Unit either reversed or modified the carrier's decision 70.5% of the time. Meaning, if a consumer filed a medical necessity complaint with the administration's Appeals and Grievance Unit and the unit possessed jurisdiction over the complaint, there was a better than 70% chance that the denial would be reversed in the complainant's favor. Since the enactment of the Appeals and Grievance Law The Maryland Insurance Administration's Appeals and Grievance Unit has recovered over $12 million for complainants. How the MIA is improving consumer outreach. Part of it is having these sort of presentations, lunch with the Appeals and Grievance Unit and other units within the administration as we attempt to get the word out to consumers. Creation of a 24/7 hotline marketing campaign. Robust social media campaign promoting the 24/7 hotline. Consumer newsletter. Various marketing materials, including first aid kits, magnets, flyers, podcast / video production to promote 24/7 hotline via our YouTube channel, social media, and website. Consumer education and outreach events, i.e. community events, fairs, libraries, motor vehicle administration, farmers market, etc. So at this point, go right ahead, Nicholas.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation, Lewis. So at this point, we're going to get into a few example questions, and Lewis is going to provide us with the answers. So I'll begin to read the sample questions. And the first question states, Jessica and Michael are worried about their daughter, Abigail, who is 15 years old. They aren't sure what the problem is, but it seems to be beyond teenage general moodiness. Abigail's grades are falling. She's gotten into a physical fight with her younger brother, and her parents thinks that she may be drinking. Our school social worker suggested an evaluation by a psychiatrist. Abigail's parents can't afford to go out of network to get this treatment. How should they start the process to have Abigail evaluated and make sure they will be covered?
Nicholas, a good place to start is with Abigail's primary care provider for recommendations on behavioral health care providers. Typically, a referral is not needed anymore, but it can't hurt to start there. Jessica and Michael can also start looking at psychiatrists through the carrier's online directory. They should check that they are searching using the right plan shown on their insurance card, because different plans may have different networks and there will probably be multiple options on the carrier's website.
Thank you for that answer, Lewis.
Absolutely.
Our next question states, they tried the online directory, but they found that there were mistakes and it was very frustrating. What should they do at that point?
Understood. There are laws requiring carriers to keep their directories up to date. So if there is incorrect information in the provider's directory, it is helpful if you report the errors to the health plan. Maryland law requires health plans to list a way to report incorrect information that is on their website and requires carriers to investigate and update the information. If they don't, you can file a complaint with the MIA. Of course, in the short term, Jessica or Michael can also call the health plan for help and use the number on the back of their insurance card. There may be a separate number for behavioral health services, and some plans will provide additional help with finding a behavioral health provider if you ask.
Thank you so much. The next question states, Jessica and Michael were able to get Abigail evaluated by a psychiatrist, and she was able to start making progress with an in-network therapist. However, before her therapy sessions were over, the therapist indicated that they were no longer accepting the parents' insurance, and Jessica and Michael have been unable to find another in-network therapist with the same level of expertise to treat Abigail. What should they do at that point?
Nicholas, they can request a referral to keep seeing the same therapist. Maryland law requires health plans to have a process to request a referral to an out-of-network provider if you need one and they don't have an in-network provider with the expertise. To find those procedures, you can look in your policy or your certificate of coverage, or you can look in the health plan's online provider directory, because health plans are required to put that information with their provider directory. The health plan is also required to provide the procedures upon request. so you can call and request them. If a referral is given, the cost sharing will be the same as the in-network provider. However, the provider may balance bill. Balance billing means the provider can bill for the difference between the health plan's allowed amount and the provider's usual charges. The health plan may enter into a single case agreement with the provider to prevent balance billing. However, the agreement may be limited to certain services, and claims may have to be sent to a different address than the normal PO box than the carriers usually use.
Great, thank you so much. So the next question, what if the request was denied because the health plan says that there are providers in network, but Jessica and Michael don't think that the particular in-network providers have the necessary level of expertise, or that it's unreasonable for them to wait because there's going to be a delay before they actually get to an appointment? They really don't want to disrupt Abigail's treatment since she's been doing well, and they don't want to see any deterioration in the progress that she's been making. What would you recommend to the parents at this juncture?
Nicholas, Jessica, and Michael have a right to challenge or appeal the health plan's decision that its in-network providers are adequate. The health plan's decision not to allow Abigail to receive treatment from an out-of-network provider is considered an adverse decision, i.e., a determination that a proposed or delivered healthcare service is not medically necessary, appropriate, or efficient. Jessica and Michael have the right to protest this decision through the carrier's health plan's internal review process. When the health plan renders an adverse decision, they are required to provide the member with a detailed explanation in writing in the form of a letter, notice of adverse decision, or an explanation of benefits, EOB, i.e. EOB. Either document will instruct them on how to initiate the health plan's internal review process. If the health plan determines that its in-network provider is adequate, Jessica and Michael may ask the Maryland Insurance Administration to review the health plan's grievance decision, the health plan's decision to uphold its adverse decision by filing a complaint. The MIA has the authority to contract with independent review organizations to review medical necessity complaints. Based on the IRO's medical opinion, the MIA reaches a decision either to uphold, modify, or reverse the health plan's decision.
Thank you so much. The next question. The situation has gotten a little bit worse. Abigail has threatened to kill her brother and herself, and it's clear that she needs emergency treatment. What can be done to make sure that she's able to obtain the treatment that she needs at this point?
Well, in the case of mental health, emotional health disorders, or substance use disorder emergencies, a patient is in imminent danger to self or others, and a determination is made by the patient's physician or psychologist and a member of the medical staff of the facility who has admitting privileges. The insurance company cannot deny the first 24 hours of the admission based on medical necessity. For an inpatient admission for treatment of mental illness, emotional health disorder, or substance use disorder, the insurance company must make a decision on whether to pre-authorize the treatment within 24 hours of receiving the requested documents. If the insurance company denies the request, the member should contact the Maryland Insurance Administration at 1-800-492-6116. The MIA is available 24 hours a day to address these sort of complaints, emergency complaints, when care has yet to be rendered. In an emergency, time is of the essence. So the administration really is available at this point, and we would encourage Abigail to get their complaint into us as quickly as possible.
Thank you so much. The next question, the parents have found, and it's been recommended that Abigail go to this mental health facility that's located in Arizona that has a history of success dealing with these particular issues. What should the parents do if they would like to send her to that particular facility?
It's important to know inpatient care usually requires pre-authorization. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, here we are. It's important to note inpatient care usually requires prior authorization. To start the process of obtaining pre-authorization for an out-of-network provider, call the number on the back of the patient's health insurance ID card first. The insurance company will ask what healthcare services you would like to receive, and when appropriate, what facility you would like to use. The insurance company will tell you what documents it needs in order to decide if it will pre-authorize the healthcare service. Maryland requires insurance companies to accept a provider's uniform treatment plan form if the health plan is subject to Maryland law. A uniform treatment plan form is a document used by providers to record the information needed by the insurance company to decide whether it will pre-authorize the requested service and/or facility. If the services are authorized under an out-of-network benefit, there may be a higher cost sharing and balance billing. Jessica and Michael can appeal the amount paid if it seems unreasonably low and can file a complaint with the MIA if the carrier upholds its appeal. Lastly, the MIA can review whether the payment is based on their policy or certificate of coverage or violates Maryland law.
Thank you. The next question. Abigail has been authorized to receive treatment and she goes to the facility, and her treating psychologist, Dr. Gomez, says that she needs 2 visits every week for the next 12 weeks. And the plan says she can have 2 for only 4 weeks. Is there anything the family can do at this point?
Absolutely, Nicholas. First, if Dr. Gomez agreed to accept the authorization for 4 weeks, it may not be a denial. However, if Dr. Gomez did not agree, then we're talking about an adverse decision. And the adverse decision, as we've been referenced previously in this discussion, is that determination where the carrier did not, in essence, denies or disagrees with what what Dr. Gomez has recommended. Dr. Gomez can file a grievance on behalf of Abigail and her parents. Dr. Gomez will be acting on behalf of the patient. Many providers get a written consent form as part of the paperwork for a new patient. The consent form for appeals and grievance complaints, that's critical because the consent form is the authorization of the patient that authorizes us to investigate such complaints because we are dealing with the patient's critical confidential medical information. So the signed consent is a critical aspect to the complaint process. So it would be wise for Dr. Gomez to have that consent form because typically when patients go to see their doctor, they're signing any number of papers, any number of documents. And part of that would be the signed consent in the event that Dr. Gomez would need to file a complaint with the Maryland Insurance Administration on behalf of their patient. Typically, they would be filing a complaint. Maybe the patient is now no longer available, or it'll take a while to reach out to the patient because the patient's come in for treatment and they've left. The carrier has subsequently denied it, so maybe a few days have gone by. But when you have the patient signed consent form, there is no interruption to the complaint process. Providers often try to call for a peer-to-peer discussion and become frustrated at the time it takes. Dr. Gomez can mail, email, or fax a written grievance, and that health plan will have to respond in writing. This may save time in the long run and will satisfy the legal requirement to exhaust the internal appeals process. If the health plan still says that 2 visits a week for 12 weeks is not medically necessary, then Dr. Gomez or Abigail's parents may file a complaint with the MIA. The MIA can send the complaint to an independent review organization to get an opinion on whether the care is medically necessary.
I would like to thank you for your time today. This concludes our presentation for today. And if you have any further questions, you can reach out to us either by telephone or by email. I would like everyone to have a wonderful rest of your day.